In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful, all the praises and thanks be to Allah, the Lord of the Alameen. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Hope all is well and fine with you. Welcome to lecture 4, subject English, class 2. Noshin Mirza here, your English teacher from Divisional Public School, Model Town, Lahore. The contents of today's lecture are introduction, pre-reading, explanation during reading, and last of all, words for dictation. The objectives of today's lecture are to enable the students to read with the help of model reading, to enable the students to build their vocabulary with new words, and reading for enjoyment. Dear students, grab your Oxford Reading Circle book and we will do today Unit 2, Ruby's Garden. First of all, I'll give you introduction of the lesson, Ruby's Garden. The lesson is about Ruby's first day at the new school. It tells us the experience of first day of Ruby in class with her teacher and her classmates. It shows the joy and happiness of Ruby's mother on getting her back from school. It also tells us the confusion of Ruby's mother that Ruby spent the whole day in garden, but actually she spent all day in class. It is an interesting story, so let's go through. Dear students, in pre-reading, I'll explain the title of the story to you, Ruby's Garden. Ruby is a name of a girl. Garden is a place where different types of flowers grow. Same is the case is class, where we learn different subjects. So, Ruby's garden means Ruby's classroom. In the story, teacher gave flowers name to the students in the classroom. As in the garden, flowers grow. Similarly, in the classroom, the students grow and their knowledge will also grow with the passage of time. Dear students, I hope all of you have your Oxford Reading Circle book beside you now. Please take out Unit 2, Ruby's Garden. I'll read it to you and explain it to make it easier for you to understand. Ruby's Garden. Ruby's mother was standing at the school gate. She was waiting for Ruby. Waiting means इंतजार कर रही थी. It was the end of Ruby's first day at her new school. The bell rang loudly. The children came out of their classrooms. They were laughing and chatting with their new friends. Laughing means हंसना, chatting means बातें करना. न्यू फ्रेंड्स, नए दोस्तों के साथ. How happy they were to see their moms and dads. Ruby soon saw her mom. She was smiling and waving her hands. Smiling means muskuraya, and waving her hand means अपना हाथ हिलाना. Ruby ran up and gave her a big hug. Hello, Ruby, said Mom, giving her a big kiss. Did you have a good day at school? Ruby nodded her head. So, the main points to remember on this page are Ruby's first day at new school. As the bell rang, the children came out of their classrooms laughing and chatting with their new friends. Ruby's mom was waiting at school gate. When Ruby saw her, she ran up and to her and gave her a big hug. Ruby's mom smiled and kissed her and asked about the first day at school. And at the end of this page, Ruby nodded her head. Nodded means sar hilana. Did you like your new teacher? Asked Mom. Ruby nodded her head again. Tell me what you did in school today, said Mom. Mrs. Thomas made us write our names on sticky labels, said Ruby. She pointed to the label on her blouse. Pointed means ishara karna. It said, Ruby, we have to wear them all week, said Ruby, till Mrs. Thomas knows our names. Knows means जानना. Knows our names means हमारे नाम जान जाएं. What did you do then? Asked Mrs. Gibbons. Here, Mom is asking Ruby's experience at new school. Ruby told her mother about her teacher, Mrs. Thomas, who wrote the names of the students on sticky labels to memorize them and pasted them on every student's blouse. And you can see that she pasted on Ruby's blouse as well, as she pointed towards her blouse where there is written R-U-B-Y, Ruby. We stayed in the garden all day, replied Ruby. Replied means jawab diya. In the garden? Asked Mum, looking surprised. Looking surprised means हैरान होकर देखा. Yes, said Ruby. We learned a poem and did lots of sums. We also did some science. In the garden? Said Mom. How odd. Odd means ajeeb or strange. Mom wanted to know about Ruby's day at school, but Ruby only wanted to chat about her pet kitten Minnie. Mom told Ruby about the naughty things Minnie had done. So here we come to know that Ruby learnt a poem in English, solved sums in maths, and studied science too in the classroom. But when she said that she stayed all day in the garden, it creates confusion for her mother, Mrs. Dibbons, that it is strange to learn all the subjects in garden. Her mother wanted to know more about Ruby's day at school, but Ruby is interested to know about her pet kitten Minnie, so she started telling her about the naughty things Minnie had done. That evening, Mrs. Dibbons spoke to Mr. Dibbons. "Do you know what, Arthur?" said Mrs. Dibbons. "What, dear?" replied Mr. Dibbons. Replied means जवाब देना. "Ruby's class spent the whole day in the garden," said Mrs. Dibbons. "No, really?" said Mr. Dibbons, looking at her over the top of his reading glasses. "Perhaps they were studying plants." "I don't think so," replied Mrs. Dibbons. "I shall go and talk to Mrs. Thomas tomorrow." Tomorrow means आने वाला कल. The next day, Mrs. Dibbons took Ruby to school. Here we have read Ruby's mother talked to Ruby's father, Mr. Dibbons, in confusion that Ruby spent all day in garden. She decides to go to meet Ruby's teacher next morning to know the reality. Means रूबी की मदर ने रूबी के फादर को कहा कि रूबी ने कहा है कि उसने स्कूल में सारा दिन बाग में गुजारा। इस पर मिस्टर डिबन्स ने कहा कि हो सकता है वो साइंस पढ़ रहे हों, पौधों को स्टडी कर रहे हों, लेकिन मिसेस डिबन्स ने कहा कि वो कल स्कूल जाकर रूबी की टीचर मिसेस थॉमस से बात करेंगी। So, next day, Mrs. Dibbons took Ruby to school early. Mrs. Thomas was already in class 2B. She was putting sheets of paper and crayons on the desks. "Good morning, Mrs. Thomas," said Mrs. Dibbons. "Good morning," said Mrs. Thomas, smiling. Smiling means muskurana. "I am Ruby's mother," said Mrs. Dibbons. "I am a little worried." Worried means परेशान होना. "What is it?" asked Mrs. Thomas, looking a little worried herself. "Is there something wrong?" "Yes, there is," said Mrs. Dibbons. "Ruby told me that she was in the garden all day yesterday." Mrs. Thomas laughed. हंस देना. Laughed means हंस देना. Mrs. Dibbons was cross. Cross means upset or angry. She did not think there was anything to laugh about. "Did you tell your mom what we did yesterday, Ruby?" asked Mrs. Thomas. Ruby nodded. Nodded means sar hilana. "And did you tell your mom about the other girls in class?" asked Mrs. Thomas. Ruby shook her head and Mrs. Thomas smiled at Ruby's mom. So, dear students, जब अगली सुबह रूबी की मदर रूबी की टीचर से मिलने ज़रा जल्दी स्कूल चली गई, तो रूबी की मदर ने रूबी की टीचर को अपनी परेशानी के बारे में बताया। इस पर रूबी की टीचर मुस्कुरा दी। तो मिसेस डिबन्स नाराज हुई कि इसमें हंसने की कोई बात नहीं। फिर रूबी की टीचर ने रूबी से पूछा कि आपने अपनी मॉम को बताया कि हमने कल क्या किया? तो इसने हाँ में सर हिलाया। जब टीचर ने रूबी से पूछा कि आपने अपनी मॉम को क्लास की दूसरी लड़कियों के बारे में बताया? तो इस पर रूबी ने ना में सर हिलाया। I told the children yesterday that we are going to call our classroom the garden, said Mrs. Thomas. The garden? Said Mrs. Dibbons in surprise. Whatever for? Just then, the other girls of 2B came into the classroom. They were all still wearing these labels. Mrs. Dibbons, I want you to meet Ruby's friends, said Mrs. Thomas, pointing to the girls, Violet, Rose, Poppy, Iris, Jasmine, Daisy. Say hello to Ruby's mom. Mrs. Dibbons and Mrs. Thomas laughed and laughed. The girls laughed too. Dear students, this interesting story has been written by the writer Nicholas Hosmer. As we have read, the whole story of Ruby's Garden is about Ruby's first day experience at school with her new teacher and new friends. It also tells us joy of Ruby's mother on getting her back from school. In the end, Ruby's mother, overjoyed to meet her friends and came to know the interesting way of teaching of her teacher, Mrs. Thomas. She calls the classroom the garden and named the students on flowers like violet, rose, poppy, iris, jasmine, daisy. Everyone laughed in the end, so it creates a friendly atmosphere. I hope you have enjoyed this story very much. Dear students, we have learned many new words in this lesson. The words for dictation are, first one is nodded, N-O-D-D-E-D, nodded. Next one is replied, R-E-P-L-I-E-D, replied. Next one is surprised, S-U-R-P-R-I-S-E-D, surprised. Next word is yesterday, Y-E-S-T-E-R-D-A-Y, yesterday. Next word is laughed, L-A-U-G-H-E-D, laughed. Next word is labels, L-A-B-E-L-S, labels. Here comes the next word, chatting, C-H-A-T-T-I-N-G, chatting. Next word is cross, C-R-O-S-S, cross. Pointing, P-O-I-N-T-I-N-G, pointing. Next is, the last word is wearing, W-E-A-R-I-N-G, wearing. You have to learn and write all these words in your notebooks. Dear students, the home task is read the lesson for at least 5 times. Learn and write the given words for dictation in your neat notebooks. If you have any questions, any queries regarding this lecture, do inbox me or comment in the comment box. I am here to help you, to guide you. Stay home, stay safe. Allah Hafiz. Thank you.